Hello, everyone. Welcome to Prep for Wave Week. This is day one, all about foundations. And this session is actually about figuring out what your actual business capacity is. So I know many of you, many of us, I'm guilty of it as well. We want to take on all the clients, all the trips, everything, especially in the new year, especially when we're getting a rush. Especially after the past 2 years that we've had in the travel industry, dealing with all the ups and downs. But is that actually going to keep us sane during this upcoming wave season starting January of 2023? And that is all about what we're going to be talking today with this session about knowing what your actual business capacity is with our incredible guest speaker, Michelle DeNio of Michelle DeNio Consulting. Welcome, Michelle, and thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm super impressed that you actually pronounced my last name correctly.
I may have listened in on some of the podcasts a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I'm so excited to be here. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I can't wait to dive in.
Yes. And everyone, you're going to hear me say quite a bit throughout here. Like, I have invited experts to be on here who are no fluff, like no BS. You're going to get it straight up, straightforward, because we just need to get down and figure out the facts and the situation and correct or make any course corrections to it. And Michelle, you're all about that. So tell us a little bit more about your consultancy and what you do to help other business owners.
Absolutely. So I am a business strategy consultant and business strategist, growth consultant, and I really try to work with business owners who are in that place of growth and they're feeling stuck, right? They're feeling at capacity. They don't know what is next. They really aren't sure what direction to go from here. They have all the ideas, but entrepreneurship can be in a place where we can get like really caught up in our own thoughts.
Right.
And so that's where I try to come in and just really look at like, where are you at? Where are you trying to go? And what are the steps you need to take to get there? And also making sure that it's in alignment with how you want to grow, what's important to you, what's important to your family. And again, that all falls in line with being at capacity and really understanding what that looks like, because having a growth strategy is only going to take you as far as your consistency and as far as you're willing to maintain it, right? It's got to be sustainable. So that's really what I focus on, is creating that strategy that not only is in alignment with you and is going to get you to your goals, but one that you can maintain, stay consistent with, and sustain for the long haul.
Yes. And I really appreciate that you brought that to the conversation also, that it is about making sure we're generating revenue for the business, but that revenue isn't at the expense of our personal lives and our sanity as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is if you ask anybody who's an entrepreneur or has a business of their own at why they are an entrepreneur or what made them take the leap into entrepreneurism, is 90% of the time it's for freedom, right? But you're not creating freedom if you're tied to your computer all the time, if you're tied to your phones, if you're not being able to be present with your family, your friends, doing other things. I mean, I'm all for the discipline. I'm all for putting in hard work. I'm recently, embarked on kind of my own journey in that, but you have to also understand that if that is what you want to do and you're here for the freedom, then create it and stay true to it, because otherwise, why are you doing it?
Right. So what would you say exactly is capacity when we're looking at laying up the foundations for wave season for travel business owners?
Number one, time. I think entrepreneurs, we tend to just discredit our time 100%, right? Because we have our phones, we can take our work everywhere, and we can be on all the time, that instant gratification. But I really always try to tell everybody exactly how many hours do you want to work, or how many hours do you have available to work, especially if it's a side hustle, especially if you're working around kids, if you're working around different school schedules. You have to be very mindful of that. Look at your calendar and add up. Here are the hours that I can work. Just because you're available Monday through Friday or Saturday and Sunday, do you want to be, do you want to be working on Saturday and Sunday while your kid's at soccer practice? Do you want to be answering questions at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night? You have that choice. You get to decide that. And I'm not saying that during certain seasons, you might say, okay, well, I know this is like you call it wave season. So you know that you are going to work more during wave season, and then you'll have slower seasons where you can kind of make up for that. But either way, no matter what it is, have those defined hours, no matter what it is. If you're willing to work 50 hours during wave season, so be it. If you only have 30 hours available to work, so be it. But be honest with yourself of exactly how many hours you have available. That to me is number one, because you can't, there's only so many hours in a day. You have to sleep, you have to eat, there's other commitments. We all have other commitments and obligations in our lives.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two, how much revenue are you looking to make? Based on, do you have a full understanding of how many trips you need to plan, or what you need to travel, or what those commissions look like, so that you can accurately plan your revenue, and looking at and then how many clients does it take to get to that, right? So if there is certain trips that you make more revenue on, is that who you're marketing to? Is that what you're focusing on? And if that's the case, and then making sure all three of them, if you're watching on video, you see me making a triangle, it's like, you can't make a triangle with one of the three or two of the three. Right. All three need to be in alignment. They are all three very, very important pillars to this, because that's your capacity. How many clients can you take in the amount of hours you have available to hit the revenue goals that you're looking for? And if they're not in alignment, you got to come back to truly what your capacity is.
Okay. So we talked about time, revenue. So what would the third pillar, what
clients, like how many number of clients can you be working with at one time? So if I were to give an example for myself, I know when I am onboarding new clients, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of hours. I personally don't like to onboard more than 4 at a time. I just don't have the capacity for it. With everything else I have going on, with the amount of hours I take researching, looking into their business, so for same with trips, you've got how many hours of research, how many clients can you truly be working with simultaneously at the same time?
Right. Okay. So like part devil's advocate, but also part curiosity. What's the first of those pillars or facets of the triangle that really needs to be looked at before you can even think about the other two?
Well, I would say time and clients I think it depends per person, right? So you've got number of hours available, but also clients is very, very important, because you need to know how many clients you can serve without things falling through the cracks. What is that capacity? If you've been in this long enough, or you have a little bit of data, how many clients you can take on, or the level of client you can take on, right? Like if somebody's looking to book a 10-year anniversary trip and wants full concierge and all the bells and whistles, and that's a lot of research, versus somebody who's just or somebody who's looking to book just a weekend, or a week away, or a 10-day cruise. That's something you've done on a regular. You've got to understand how many clients can you take on, and how many hours does it take to book each one of these things, right? Like how many clients, you cannot have 10, 12, 15, 20 people texting you all at the same time without something falling through the cracks, right? So what is that number? How many can you take on before you have to say, okay, yep, I absolutely can help you. I've got this one other project I've got to complete, and then you'll be right next on my list.
Right. Another like devil's advocate part of me is also thinking like prepping for wave season, thinking about capacity. What considerations do you think people should be making in terms of what they are selling related to capacity?
Meaning type of trips, or just different travel?
Types of trips, but if they want to make sure they're maintaining capacity, what areas of the products that they're selling do they need to be looking at?
Well, is there research involved, right? There's usually, is there trips that are super easy for you to book? I mean, I would assume that there's certain trips that are easier for you
Mm-hmm.
book versus others, right? And if that's the case and you have that, is it something you can outsource to somebody else where you have somebody trained and ready to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, if somebody comes to me and wants to book a 5-day Caribbean cruise, I've got somebody that I can just pass this off to, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
bringing on the help that these people versus the ones like, what are the ones that you have to be that full concierge? You have to offer that, high 5-star service, and they're really looking for research and they're relying on you for everything to book their meals, to book their, what is that? Because there's only so much of that, especially if somebody's coming to you for that high touch customer service versus just you know what, here's what we want to do. I don't want to deal with it. Can you pass that off? Is there certain things? And so I would look at where you can hire, who you can be training.
Mm-hmm.
Is there certain processes you can put in place so that you can take on more and not have it? Is there checklists you need to be putting in place? Like all of these things kind of affect your capacity, because if you work more effectively and more efficiently, you obviously can take on more clients, right?
Mm-hmm. When should somebody not hire out for help?
I think it's really a customer service aspect. I don't think if somebody is coming to you because they've built trust and rapport or you've been referred and they're really looking to create that client experience, I think the research side of it can be, hired out. I think, but
Right.
the forward facing client interaction, I do not think should be hired out.
I really like that you say that, because when we're thinking even of just marketing, I know that a lot of people just want to focus on the marketing so that they're getting clients in. But marketing is probably one of the first things that you can start outsourcing, because you're still the face of your business. You still have to be planning the ins and outs and building the relationships with the people in order to close the sales and convert and keep them coming back.
Absolutely. And loyalty is built on trust and it's built on service, right? So yes, it's okay to let somebody know that you have a team behind you. Absolutely. Hey, it's me and my team, and I've got a couple people that help me look into these things. But just so you know, you can always contact me. You don't have to work, and again, that may not fit certain people's business models, but I do know that goes a long way, especially if somebody is really looking for, they want to know that they've got this person that no matter what. I have a good friend, they always go to the same person because they know full well that he has a team, but it doesn't matter. They don't deal with the team.
Mm-hmm.
They deal with him. And that's all that they
Mm-hmm.
care about, is that they know he's going to get taken care of. And so ultimately, yes, you can put different things, the marketing, a lot of the behind the scenes, anything that can be systematized can be outsourced.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's relational really should not be.
Mm-hmm. That I like that you mentioned that also, because there's just so many times where a lot of the gurus that are out there are telling us to do this, to do that, but nothing is really about building the relationship, which is really going to get the max output, especially when we start thinking about capacity and what we can do or what we should be doing. They're focused on the wrong things, in my opinion.
Well, I think building relationships is for me, it's always more important. I would much rather work with the same 10 people every single year
Right.
than have 100 people coming through you know what I mean? You don't have the opportunity to build. And when you can prove the level of customer service on one trip, and then what happens, the amount of referrals that come in, because we all have those conversations, right? We all have this like, oh my gosh, I'm really, our 10-year anniversary is coming up next year. I'd love to go do this. The first thing I want is somebody to go, I've got just the person for you. Like, you literally call her. She is going to handle everything from start to finish. Just tell her what you're looking for, and she's going to make sure you get the best deal, make sure you have the best service. That goes a long way. Like, you just saved me time. So
Right.
that like being the face and putting your time into there is so important, because all the other things, all the marketing, yeah, it might turn and burn, but that's when you start to get over capacity, when you get into this place of like needing all the clients, right? Like, I don't need all the clients. I need a few that I know are going to be loyal and are going to refer me. The rest all falls into play. So figure out what that looks like for you to be able to take the time. That's why I say capacity in the clients is really important, because that high touch customer service goes a lot further than the turn and burn.
I love that you say that, especially in our industry. A lot of people are starting to charge trip management fees to help make sure that they're compensated for the time that they put in, aside from the commission that they get. And I think that's something also like capacity. Some people are, instead of charging fees per trip, they're charging like annual planning fees. And for $1,000, $2,000, I will take care of whatever trips it is. And I feel like it's almost, it's working smarter, not harder, in a sense that if you can accommodate more of those types of clients,
Mm-hmm.
then the less almost tire kickers that you get coming to you because you're maximizing your capacity.
Absolutely. I'm all for that, because you have to also think from the the customer's perspective too. You know, if you're dealing with really busy moms or families or high level C-level executives or busy entrepreneurs or business owners, I know you do retreat planning and stuff. I don't have the time, right? Like I don't have the time not only to figure out all these logistics, B, it's not my area of expertise, and C, it's not where I should be spending my time. That's not how I make money. I don't make money trying to figure out the back end. I don't even know where to start, right? So if that means, if I know that I want to have all of these trips and I pay $1,000 a year, whatever it is up front, but I know that I can call you and say, hey, Rita, all right, we're ready to go again. Let's,
Do it.
then you can do, you know what I mean? You're right there and you're saving. So you're saving the client so much time as well. And you're allowing them to just stay in their zone of genius or their comfort or whatever their role is, that allows them to just know that they are going to get handled with the highest level of care and service.
Yes. Yes, agreed. And I feel like travel business owners, if you're watching this, you should pause, rewind a little bit, and take some of the sound clips that Michelle just used. If you have ever been nervous about charging a fee or working with people who might not value you, she just gave you at least 3 different value propositions why people use a travel advisor, experts in travel planning. Another question that kind of came up from that is, what would you say is the difference between the CEO level of a business in terms of knowing their capacity and someone who's just starting out or running on the hamster wheel?
Well, when you're starting out, I think there's a lot of trial and error, right? Like you have to do all the things. I am always you know what, take as many as you can. Figure it out, take them on, don't drive yourself absolutely crazy. This is where I think that time piece comes into you know what I mean? When you hit your time limit for the week, look at it and be like, okay, I can't take on anymore, right? But that is such a crucial piece, because it allows you to learn. It allows you to see, okay, this worked really well. I love, love, love planning this type of trip. I absolutely do not want to deal with customs or this type of thing, right? Like,
Right.
so you can really get to a place where you learn, and then you become specialized, or you can really hone in and get focused. And not only that, it saves you time. Now you're stepping into the CEO role to say, here's who I am, here's what I do, and here's how you can work with me. I only offer this level of service, because the reality is it's no different in my industry or your industry.
Right.
There is somebody out there for everybody. So do not be afraid to step into that CEO role. Say, this is my business, this is who we serve, and this is how we do it. And if that's not a good fit for you, that's okay. I have a lot of other people I can refer you to. But from my perspective, in order for me to grow my business in the way I want to, this is what I know works, right? Because it allows you to know. That's how you really can hone in on your capacity. Because when you can get very specific, or I don't think it's that specific, but it's specific enough to say, I know if I book 5 of these and I work high level with these clients and I charge this amount, then you're going to meet your time goal, you meet your client goal, and you're going to meet your revenue goal. You've hit capacity and everything's working like a well-oiled machine.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. And I'm also hearing people saying, like, I can't say no. So what do you say to the nays? Because I feel capacity is all about putting boundaries up, but
Right.
there's a hesitancy to put boundaries up because I just want it, like different reasons. I just want to make so much money, or I can't say no because I'm a people pleaser. I've been there. So how do you combat that, or how can fellow business owners combat that?
Well, it's
Real
not an
talk.
easy one. It's really
Right.
not. You know what I mean? But the answer is you just say no,
Hmm.
right? And you have to really think about what is more important to me. Is it, is making $1,000 commission more important to me than my sanity, or working, not having to deal and work with a client that's going to be a total PITA, or somebody that is going to just waste all my time. And you know what I mean? You've got to get to a point where you know that. And the thing is everything is a choice. You can choose to say yes,
Right.
but then don't bitch about it when you know what I mean?
Right.
You can't have both, right? You
Right.
can't be somebody that says, but I want all I can, and then complain about it all the way. Or you can have a boundary and you can say, you know what, this just is not my area of expertise. I've been there. I get it.
Yep.
I understand what it's like to want the extra cash, but this is where I also say, look at your seasons. What are you willing to put up with during wave season? And
Right.
then what are you willing to put up with? Learn from it. Learn from it. Take the time when wave season ends to reflect on it and say, okay, I'm going to go through everything I just did.
Hmm.
What can I do for next year? And what am I willing to continue putting up with? What am I not willing to put up with next year? What am I going to say no to? Where am I going to draw that line in the sand? It could be a small thing. It could just be something small of, I don't want to work on, in the evenings, right? That's it.
Yes.
That's all it could be. It could be something that small where you just say, you know what? I just want to let you know, I'm happy to make sure that your trip gets planned, but I just want you to know that it's 6 o'clock. I go spend time with my family. You are more than welcome to email me, but just understand I'm not going to answer you until 9 o'clock the next morning. That's a
Right.
boundary. That's a small boundary that you can easily set.
Right. Right. Because that when I first started going full time into business, I had my calendar schedule open anytime, Monday through Friday. And I quickly, because part of me knowing what my capacity is when I'm effective. And I can't be on all the time. On meaning like being on Zoom calls, interacting with people like that. I'm more of an introvert, so it takes a lot of energy from me. I also learned that I can't like take calls. So I only take calls 2 times during the week. So Tuesdays
100%.
and Thursdays are my call days. I cannot take them before noon. And that's the first thing that I need to do is not have a conversation because it's going to burn me out the rest of the day. I need to like make sure I'm getting things done in the morning, and then I
Mm-hmm.
can be like, "Hey, how are you? Like nice to meet you. Yes, let's collaborate on this." I know
Right.
some people might be opposite, but those are some things that I hope at least can serve as like good examples in addition
Mm-hmm.
to show you where other people have seen their capacity is and where they put boundaries on.
Exactly. And I think we have, as a society, we've created a negative kind of, over around boundaries. But the
Hmm.
reality is that it's not a negative. Having boundaries means this is how I serve you best,
Hmm.
right? I am not coming to a travel advisor to get mediocrity, right? I can get mediocrity doing it myself. I can
Right.
get mediocrity through Google, right? Like
Yes.
that's what I'm going to get. If I'm coming to you as a trusted advisor, I'm not expecting mediocrity. So if you say to me, in order for me to serve you best, this is what needs to happen. I don't take calls until noon because I spend my mornings making sure I've got everything. I want to make sure things don't fall through the cracks. I want to make sure that I'm getting all your questions answered. I want to, I'm going to really, somebody who is really looking for that high level service is going to appreciate that.
Right.
And that's what boundaries really are about, is about serving at your best, not serving at mediocrity. When you push beyond your capacity, you're going to serve at mediocrity. It's just inevitable because something is going to fall through the cracks. We as humans cannot serve. We just can't be on all the time.
Hmm. Very, very true. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being here. If
Absolutely.
people want to stay in touch with you, or first let's hear a little bit about your alliance and then let us know where we can reach out to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Accelerated Business Alliance, my goal is, and one of the missions that I have for entrepreneurs or anybody in the business ownership space is that they always feel seen, heard and supported, right? Because all of these things come up, all of these questions come up where I'm like, oh my gosh, I took on too many clients. I'm kind of losing it. Does anybody know somebody, right? Like being able to have those questions answered, to know that you have that level of support, to learn from others who have been in business maybe a little bit longer than you, some even that are just starting out. There's a lot of knowledge in the excitement of that too. And so I created the Accelerated Business Alliance to give entrepreneurs and experts that community of support to where they always feel seen, they always feel heard, and they always feel supported with a group of like-minded experts. And so that is just really my mission. It's my passion to
Mhm.
really create that space. And I couldn't find it, so I created it on my own.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. And then I think this is a really good testament to relationship building with the right social channels is how we met. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like one or the other started following the other through some people we knew on LinkedIn. And we've just had a couple coffee chats from there and
I
listening
know, it's
to
crazy.
podcasts and interacting with posts and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. The power of social media and building those relationships, and everybody should be doing that, especially if you're prepping to get into there. Now's the time to start
Right.
having those conversations. Now's the time to start planting those seeds, start watering them. I always say, start the conversation, continue the conversation, and amplify the conversation. Send the DM, comment on, socials, and use your content to amplify that. But have those conversations. Do not be afraid to start them. Now is the time to be doing that.
Yes, agreed. And what's your URL? How can they find you on LinkedIn?
It's just my name, Michelle DeNio. So it's linkedin.com/in/Michelle DeNio, all one word, no capitals or anything like that.
Perfect. Thank you again for being here, and everything will be linked up in your Prep for Wave Week portal. If you have purchased a study hall pass from me, I will see you at 3 p.m. Eastern for an hour. We can do co-working or brainstorm a little bit on this. So thank you everyone for tuning in on this session, and we'll see you at the rest of the sessions today. Bye.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye.